Hey, welcome back. I'm Ferrikster, here to bring you some more Pokemon Go GBL battles. These battles are played in Love Cup, and I am donning my red sunglasses. Not because it's Love Cup, but because it's not good to look directly into a Shadow Charizard's Blast Burn. It's like staring at the sun or a bare light bulb on your desktop that illuminates your face. It's just not good for your cornea. So, I am very excited that Love Cup has returned. If you're fairly new to my channel or not super familiar with me or how I got started, actually, running Shadow Charizard used to really be the only thing I was known for. I guess if there was a most Ferrikster-y Pokemon that exists, it's actually not Ultra League Shadowlax or Frostlass in the lead. It's actually Shadow Charizard. In Season 4, I was leading Shadow Charizard in Open Great League and managed to make it up to, I think, number 6 on the leaderboard with that team. And then again, like the following season, or actually I think it was season 6 because Season 5 wasn't a real season. Also, led Shadow Charizard in Open Great League, managed to get a number 4 finish. And in the previous Love Cup, actually, I ran the team that I'm going to show you for the first few games. And this team had taken me up to tied for number 3rd in the world on the leaderboard. Also, leading Shadow Charizard. Had a lot of success with it back in the day, and I am very pleased to bring this team back and kind of show you it, and then show you a modification that I made based on what I was seeing, and just talk through my mindset and, you know, why I ended up making that adjustment. So these battles, by the way, I am still recovering from tanking my elo, letting Twitch choose my Pokemon for 3 days. They managed to drop me by about 700 points over the course of 3 days. So, yeah, did a very fine job of killing me in the days leading up to Go Battle Day so that I could actually try to farm some legendary encounters. As a person who doesn't really raid much or spend anything, it's really difficult to get a lot of legendary encounters, enough to get the XL candy that I would need to play Masters, if I don't kind of, you know, adjust my score down so that I'm actually able to finish, you know, 20 sets in a day. When you're at leaderboard height, it can take an hour or sometimes up to 2 or 3 to finish a set if you're high enough. And at 2 hours to a set even, you're just not going to be able to do 2 sets because there's literally not enough hours in the day. So I think these battles are starting out around like 2800-ish. But yeah, this is the team. So I lead with Shadow Charizard. In Love Cup, I use an Elite TM to bring Legacy Wing Attack onto my ShadowZard. Does this team work with regular Charizard? Probably, but I have never tried playing it like that because the Shadow Charizard that I use, I have a very strong attachment to, I guess. And also, it's literally a rank 1. A 0, 15, 13 Shadow Charizard. It's the same one that I've been using for over a year. I managed to catch it during the first time that Shadow Charmander was available, and it was a very limited run, I guess, of that. So not a lot of people that had that. It was probably one of the rarest Pokemon in the world. Now Shadow Charmander is still kind of not common, but, you know, still spawning from rockets, so you can get yourself a Shadow Charizard if you don't already have one. Although if you were to build this team, you would have to have already unfrustrated it, and since there hasn't been an opportunity to get Blast Burn, you would have to Elite TM Blast Burn if you were going to use a Shadow Charizard and you didn't have one from the first pass. This particular ShadowZard, I have spent a total of 4 Elite TMs on. The first time I gave it Wing Attack, I Elite TM'd Blast Burn because I was impatient. And I Elite TM'd it to Dragon Breath at one point to try that out, and now I have spent a 4th Elite TM on this Shadow Charizard to bring it back to Wing Attack for Love Cup. And I have to say, Shadow Charizard is one of the strongest and most versatile Pokemon in Love Cup if you have Wing Attack. If you really wanted to try to run it with Air Slash, it would be strictly worse, because Air Slash is a much worse move, but you can get that without an Elite TM, just using fast TMs. If you really wanted to try to build this team on a budget, you could try to do that. But if you can't acquire a Shadow Charizard for this cup, I would say the closest thing is probably either, you know, if you have a Wing Attack regular Zard or a Talonflame. Although Shadow Charizard has a very positive matchup with Talonflame, especially in the lead, and Talonflame seems to be one of the most common leads, and I really like the way Wing Attack Zard gives me the ability to kind of control the flow of that matchup. But yeah, also on the team, Shadow Slowbro, which not available right now. Regular Slowbro, I would say would be fine. I prefer the Shadow because just I like being able to do much more oppressive confusion damage because that helps Slowbro to force switch advantage a lot more often. And then I have a regular non-Shadow Electrode in the back. I would not recommend going with Shadow Electrode. Regular Electrode probably makes the most sense. Although I end up changing this team midway through this set anyway because I needed to adjust for the number of Lickitung safe swaps I was starting to see. Anyway, ShadowZard into Druddigon. Right, let me actually commentate a game. ShadowZard into Druddigon. Druddigon obviously is pretty new, and I'm not sure why it qualifies. It's not the most red Pokemon I've ever seen. But then again, Shadow Charizard isn't really the most red Pokemon I've ever seen either, and it's here, so can't really complain. You do outpace Druddigon to just going straight Dragonclaw. So usually they'll end up double shielding, and then I will bring something in. Since Druddigon resists Volt Switch, I opt to bring in Slowbro, which doesn't really set me up amazingly. Like, I end with some energy. A Medicham is going to come out after this, and Medicham isn't really a Slowbro answer. Everything on this iteration of the team is pretty solid-ish against Medicham. Electrode, I guess, is the weakest at that. My opponent throws a power-up punch and is able to counter me the whole way down. I'm going to send Zard back out. They have their own Charizard. I should really have switched out into my Electrode immediately so that I'd be able to outpace. It's 8 wing attacks to the Blast Burn, so I actually would have been able to get Electrode out and get to the Blast Burn, and get to the discharge faster to prevent myself from being Blast Burn if I had switched out within 1 wing attack. But I ended up staying in with Zard too long, and it ended up costing me this game. A little bit rusty on how to run this team just, you know, against all of the Pokemon that you're going to encounter. So I ended up making a lot of mistakes in this first set. These battles are actually from Tuesday, by the way. I just have been very busy, so I was incredibly slow at getting them out. I'm very sorry about that. Would have loved to show you this team earlier. If you want to see more games with this specific team, about 1 year ago, I posted my previous Love Cup video, the one where I made it to number 3 on the leaderboard, where I ran this exact team. I think I have 2 sets of that there, so you could refer to that. But I'll warn you, the sound is awful, the outfit is cringe, the decor is not very nice, and you know what? I'm not going to link it. Don't even watch it. You know what? If these aren't enough battles, it's fine. I'll try to release another video with more of these battles just to avoid having you revisit that. I promise. I'll get them out on Saturday. So yeah, another Lickitung that I encountered. XL Lickitung existed in the last iteration of Love Cup a year ago. It just was very uncommon because a lot of people didn't have the XL candy. Now that a lot of top players have XL Lickitung already, started to see it more often, and I ended up deciding after this game, because this is the second time I'm seeing Lickitung in this set, that I don't like the idea of people using XLs and feeling like, yes, this XL Pokemon is very strong. It just runs counter to the way that I like to play the game, which is, you know, lazily not really making XL Pokemon as much as I should. So I decided, you know what, this can't continue, and I ended up swapping in a Scrafty in place of my Electrode. I could have replaced Slowbro with Scrafty also, and that also would have been fine and not really left me with as glaring a weakness to Electrode in the lead, because that's already kind of a core breaker for this team. But I did what I did, and this is the updated team. And I went on a really incredible run with it. 10 wins out of 11 with this line. So put Scrafty in the back, Shadow Charizard into Scrafty in the lead. So this is a fantastic, not even really bait-dependent matchup. I will always shield when they get to their 7th counter because the Foul Play actually hurts Zard a lot. You survive it, but just barely. And yeah, I'll go straight Blast Burn, or because they threw their move kind of early, I was able to just farm up and throw a Dragon Claw, and they would have had to shield both of them to get to the second move, so I was perfectly safe there. Talonflame is going to come out. I went for an early throw of my Dragon Claw just so that I'd be able to CMP tie with them on this one, and it turned out they weren't actually even throwing their move as soon as they could. And then they didn't throw again, so I reach another Dragon Claw, and this one is a CMP. They are at 100 energy. They could have been disciplined and just continue throwing, but I figured for sure they would throw, so ended up CMP tying them on this one. I can let this Flame Charge go in a fantastic position. ShadowZard is very strong against Talonflame and has a lot of control over the flow of that matchup. I'm going to bring Slowbro out since I no longer have Electrode. I'm going to have to shield this Brave Bird, but that's fine. They have one Pokemon left, and my Slowbro already has energy. Ariados is a pretty strong response to Slowbro. Sort of. The lunge does a lot, but it's not actually enough to take me out. And I'm going to be able to reach this Psychic, and that is going to take out Ariados. So this is the new team. It has, you know, Scrafty instead of Electrode. I just didn't end up using Scrafty at all in the first game. But that's okay. Not really even enough to salvage that set. That was a terrible first set. I'm glad I mostly talked over it the whole time, but I made a lot of mistakes there. Some of those were on me, but also didn't like seeing Lickitung. Wanted to have a hard counter to that Lickitung safe swap. So, Ariados in the lead, my opponent switches out into Medicham, and this is fine for me. I'm playing this out the same way I would play out Medicham in the lead, which is to say that I just go straight Blast Burn. It's 8 wing attacks to the Blast Burn and 8 counters to the Psychic, so you get to them at the same speed. They threw 1 extra, so I was able to switch out and catch the Psychic on my Slowbro. This is amazing for me. I can just Confusion the whole way down. I would actually survive this Psychic and still probably be able to Confusion the rest of the way down, but, you know, just to be super safe, I decided to shield that one just so I could end with at least a little bit of energy. It's not like Ariados would be able to come out and farm me down from this health. Poison Sting just doesn't have enough fast move pressure to farm down, so I wanted to leave myself kind of unfarmable for them. So they're obviously going to be forced to use their last shield there on that Psychic, and they have to throw something or I'm going to reach another Psychic, but they don't. They try to go for the farm down. I'm able to reach this last Psychic, and this is obviously going to KO. It would KO from full health. There's an Alomomola in the back. I do actually know how to pronounce that Pokemon's name. It's just difficult. I reveal my Scrafty, and I don't really get to use it because my opponent resigns the game. But Scrafty up a shield would obviously be able to take out Alomomola. Next up, ShadowZard into Druddigon. So again, not a Pokemon that we used to see. I'm experimenting with this team because this is literally my first sets running it. And I decided to switch out into Scrafty right away just to kind of see what my opponent wants to do. My thought process behind this was, well, you know, if there's like a Charmer or something in the back, it'll for sure come out here. And then I'll just farm it down with Zard and I'll be able to Dragon Claw the Druddigon, right? Like, Charizard takes so much fast move damage from the Dragon Tails. Just kind of made sense to try to send Scrafty out, draw out something else that Zard could farm down, because it won't take that much energy to push both shields out of a Druddigon. Like, the Dragon Claw will do so much damage, just, you know, would be able to take them out. And they actually decided to just force their way into switch advantage at the expense of a shield, so that really isn't a great matchup for Druddigon. Apparently, Scrafty, you know, could have won that if I wanted to double shield. But I decided to just let it go. Yeah, there's an Alomomola in the back, but I'm going to send out my Slowbro. Slowbro is a very hard response to Alomomola. It's one of the reasons that I really enjoyed running it early on. And they've also got a Talonflame in the back, which doesn't have a ton of play against Zard, although in the zeros they would win just because they can go straight Brave Bird. But yeah, Shadow Slowbro can actually throw 1 Water Pulse, and 1 Water Pulse plus 3 Confusions is enough to take out a Talonflame. If the Talonflame's IVs are not good, then it only takes 1 Water Pulse and 2 Confusions. So in the interest of maximizing your energy, maybe it's best to undercharge the Psychic by like 2 bubbles, just so that you can ensure that you get a 3rd Confusion off. Just to end with as much energy as you can, because that 3rd Incinerate will not land anyway. So here we go. My opponent safe swaps into Electrode. Electrode is a very popular safe swap because there are no ground types. So there's not really a really hard response to Electrode. And because Electrode is often carrying Hyper Beam and Discharge as opposed to Foul Play Discharge, it's not really safe to just no shield right away. So I am going to shield the first move with my Scrafty. It's 5 volt switches to get to the Hyper Beam, 3 to the Discharge or Foul Play, and 5 to the Hyper Beam. So was forced to shield the first one because they threw at 5. Didn't have to shield the next one. And here I throw 1 counter and then throw my Foul Play, which is kind of a mistake. I should really throw 2 counters and then the Foul Play. On the next one, I can only throw 1 counter and then the Foul Play because the damage from an Incinerate will land on the 4th turn, which would be, you know, when you get your second counter off. So, you know, minor mistake there. Could have gotten 1 extra counter of damage. Didn't end up actually mattering because my opponent no-shielded. They did not believe that I had as much energy as I had. And they were left with a Scrafty, which cannot really beat a Zard just because the wing attack damage is just too much. So, Ariados in the lead. I'm able to sneak in a wing attack, which makes this a lot better, actually. I'm going to no-shield the first move. It is the Cross Poison. Going to throw this Dragon Claw once I reach the Blast Burn. So kind of baiting here, but if they let it go, they'll end up low enough that I can just wing attack down anyway. They're getting to their move here. I sneak in another wing attack, and I am going to shield. It turns out to be a lunge, which is fine. Since I snuck in 2 wing attacks, I'm able to just wing attack all the way down. Otherwise, I would have had to throw a Dragon Claw, which also would have been fine. Would still be able to win switch advantage, no problem. And I'm going to be able to unload that Blast Burn at Electrode, and they are going to shield. So this is fine. If I had my own Electrode, this would kind of be iffy. Able to send Scrafty out, which is a pretty good response. They send out their Medicham, which is a hard counter to Scrafty, so it's a good thing I won switch here. And I'm just going to send out Slowbro. I'm not going to shield anything. They throw a Power-Up Punch, which is kind of a mistake because of what they end up doing. Like, I'm going to throw this Psychic. And actually, do they even have a shield left? No, they don't. So they can't even really... Yeah, they couldn't even make a catch. I was thinking of another game. Should have really gone straight Psychic. Would have been able to save a lot of health on Electrode. But I guess maybe this helped them to farm up enough energy to maybe at least threaten. Since I saved my shield, I can just shield that. Landing in the Hyper Beam was the only way they were able to take out my Scrafty. Obviously, I'll be able to survive a Discharge, no problem. I'm able to land that Foul Play, and that managed to take them out. Sorry, they didn't misplay there. I was thinking of another game. I think that one is coming up. Or I talked over it initially, and we won't see it. One of those. This is not a scuffed video. This is going fine. Charizard and Scrafty. They switch out right away into Magcargo, which is great for me because now I'm carrying Scrafty. Before I would end up having to send out... I mean, I guess Slowbro would be fine. Although, Slowbro actually can lose switch advantage against the Magcargo, just because if they are running Rock Tomb and go straight Rock Tomb, they debuff you, and Magcargo is actually pretty tanky. Since that did not happen, I end up just no shielding with Scrafty, can survive the Heat Wave, or can survive the Overheat, and now I am left with Scrafty coming out into me with loaded energy. I'm just going to throw Power-Up Punch because Power-Up Punch hits for super effective, and Foul Play is literally double resisted, so there's that. I get to the Blast Burn as the Scrafty is receiving the energy for a Foul Play, so I'm going to throw the Blast Burn because they would survive a Dragon Claw, and I didn't want to have to go down a shield to maintain. There's an Alomomola in the back, and there is no way they can force their way through a Slowbro, so yeah, this game was kind of just me hard countering my opponent. Not a lot they could have done there. Usually don't show you too many hard counter games, but you know, sometimes it's going to happen. And that's a 5 out of 5. So we are so far 6 for 6 with this team, even though the last game of the last set I didn't use Scrafty at all. Still counts. He was on the bench. Keeping the bench warm, it's an important job too. So yeah, it's this next set. ShadowZard into Medicham. Again, fantastic lead for me. Even if they play this out where they bait Power-Up Punch, it's still fine for ShadowZard. They're going to switch out into Talonflame, which is really not an amazing counter to ShadowZard, but I'm going to send Slowbro out. And I no-shield the Brave Bird. I just didn't believe them that they were actually throwing it, but they were. So yeah, I should really have shielded that. Now I don't have alignment. Thankfully, Shadow Charizard has some energy, and you know, energy on Shadow Charizard is extremely valuable. There are not really any things in Love Cup that resist both Dragon Claw and Blast Burn. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there is anything there. And yeah, since, you know, ShadowZard has very high attack, the Dragon Claws hurt even when they're neutral, and the Blast Burns hurt a lot. So I have to shield the Rock Tomb, and that's fine. They end up catching this next Dragon Claw on their Medicham, which is fantastic for me because now Medicham is out against my ShadowZard, and even though they've lowered my attack by 1 stage, I'm still doing as much damage as a non-Shadow Charizard would be doing to this Medicham. So I could have gone straight Blast Burn here, but I figured it was a little bit safer. They get a counter through. I assume that was snuck and then insta-throw. I don't get a wing attack for whatever reason. Because I know I'll at least be able to get to another Dragon Claw. And actually from this health range, even though it would do a lot of damage to Scrafty in the process, Scrafty could have countered down from there. So if they had used their last shield there, it would have been fine to just send in Scrafty and counter down. I would have been able to end with energy and been able to foul play, so I would have been able to use my shield if I had to. Yeah, ended up eating that overheat. Oh, I didn't have a shield. Ended up eating that overheat. I'm able to counter down my cargo. They saved their shield, but it wasn't enough because I turned out I had a Scrafty in the back. So, yeah, ShadowZard, versatile, very strong, very good if it has energy. Wormadam in the lead. Usually Wormadams will switch out right away because they are worried that I will be running Fire Spin. A Fire Spin would do about 1/4 of Wormadam's health, so they definitely don't want to stay in to find out. Switch it to Druddigon. I'm going to throw 1 Dragon Claw just to kind of force a shield out of them. If they no shield, I think that would KO them. Druddigon is very squishy. And then I send out Slowbro because my thought process is I want to save Scrafty for Wormadam because, you know, Scrafty will resist the confusions and hit back for neutral with all of those counters. Wormadam's going to come out into Slowbro. I am going to throw Water Pulse. Water Pulse is a terrible move, but at least it hits for neutral instead of being resisted. So Wormadam is going to take that. And now I could send Zard back out, but I decided to send out Scrafty instead. And there's actually a Slowbro in the back. So resisting confusion, pretty important. ABA confusion team. I am just going to go straight foul play. Scrafty outpaces Slowbro, so if they want to shield, I'll just mirror shield and throw my next foul play, and that's fine. This would have been a CMP tie that I lost, so I no-shield the Water Pulse for whatever reason, where it would have made a lot of sense to just shield that and build up to back-to-back foul play. Didn't really play this matchup out as well as I could have, but that's all right. Going to bring ShadowZard back in. Wormadam's not going to be able to reach a move because it takes 5 confusions for Wormadam to reach an Iron Head or a Bug Buzz, and yeah, I'm going to throw a Blast Burn, which is enough to KO that Wormadam about 6 times over. And that is a GG. I'm going to take that game. All right, next up against Kuni Pai Pai. Charizard into Crustle. This is a horrible lead because Crustles are almost all running Smackdown. I switch out right away into Slowbro because Slowbro is not actually really a Crustle counter. Like, Crustle could stay in and beat Slowbro if they wanted to, but that's fine. I wanted to leave myself with a Scrafty so I'd have a hard response. And they bring out a Scrafty, which is a really hard response to Slowbro. So that's okay, actually. I'm going to bring out ShadowZard, and I am going to wing attack the whole way down. Since they threw their foul play right away, they're at another one here. I shield this. Thankfully, they weren't baiting me, and I am going to be able to wing attack the rest of the way down. This can only be a power-up punch, but it's only about 1 counter away from another foul play, so very, very close. But this is not a terrible situation considering how severely I've lost the lead and how severely I've lost the swap. Here I make the mistake that will definitely cost me this game, which is I stay in and throw 1 wing attack and then throw my Blast Burn. Taking that Smackdown, it does like a little over 1/4 of Charizard's health. Even though mine is the bulkiest ShadowZard that exists, the rank 1, it still does about like 27% of my health. So you cannot survive 4 of them, no matter what. And there is a Medicham in the back. So I have a shield, but that's not really going to help me because Scrafty... Actually, this is one of the games where if I had Electrode here, I would have been fine. Because then, you know, Electrode could just shield and I could, you know, throw some things and have some of Electrode left over in the back for, you know, for Crustle. This is just me being really severely hard countered. Although, if I had swapped Zard out right away, instead of staying in and throwing that 1 wing attack, my opponent would have had a shield left, but I would maybe have been able to come in with Charizard, farm down Medicham, because all I actually need to do is land a Blast Burn on Crustle to take it out. It's just managing to get that energy off of farming down the swaps. Although, side note, I don't expect that team to be very common because it's ABA weak to Medicham, and Medicham in the lead has always been kind of common. Although I'm not seeing it as much as I would like to, because Shadow Charizard is a very hard answer to a Medicham lead. So that's unfortunate team comp for me. Also, since adding Scrafty, I have not seen a single Lickitung safe swap. So the thing that I put it in here specifically to beat, not really seeing it much. Although it's also been great against Electrode safe swaps. Great as in consistent, not, not amazing at, maintaining shield advantage or anything, just of winning swap. Which is important because ShadowZard and Slowbro cover very different things. Sort of. So I'm going to bring Zard back out, and I am going to shield this. Scolipede usually runs Sludge Bomb and X-Scissor. X-Scissor is double resisted, so I don't expect them to throw it, but I mean, it definitely does happen. Alomomola is in the back, and had to switch out to Slowbro really quickly. So Slowbro is a really good response to Alomomola. I resist everything that Alomomola throws, but Alomomola is super thick. Sneaking a confusion there, which definitely helps. They are going to go straight Psychic, which is actually, okay. I mean, they're going to be able to reach their second Psychic here. Although I think if they just went straight Hydro Pump, they might have been able to take me out anyway. Before I was able to reach my next move. Regardless, ShadowZard's going to come out. I have plenty of energy. I throw the Dragon Claw right away, which is maybe a little bit premature. Scolipede is super, super squishy, though. I would have loved to go for the Blast Burn, just because Blast Burning things with Shadow Charizard is incredibly satisfying. But I was worried they were going to reach another charge move, so yeah, I just had to kind of throw the Dragon Claw just to safely take them out, since Scolipede, again, super, super squishy, takes a lot of damage from things. All right, Magcargo in the lead. I instinctively switch out of this right away because sometimes it's actually running Rock Throw, and this one actually is, although it's not as common as it used to be. A Clefable comes out, so thankfully I didn't swap out to Scrafty because Scrafty would have no play here. Gonna throw the Psychic, and they actually let it go, which is very surprising to me, and the reason they do that is because they've got an Electrode in the back, so both of their Pokemon are very strong against Shadow Charizard. So I'm actually going to bring Zard out here, and as much as it hurts me, I'm going to just let this go and sacrifice Zard, because I know at this point that Rock Throw Magcargo has basically no play against any fighter. By any fighter, I mean Scrafty or Medicham, because those are the only two in this cup. So I'm just going to reveal my Scrafty, and yeah, I can shield that Discharge just because it would do pretty decent damage. Throw a Power-Up Punch, and my opponent still has 2 shields, but all I'm going to do is straight Pup and just counter the whole way down through everything. Like Magcargo, Rock Throw charges kind of slowly, but Magcargo is still going to be able to reach and overheat. So I'm going to shield this. Turned out to be a Rock Tomb, which lowers my attack, but that's okay. I can always just bring my attack back up. Although at this point, Electrode isn't healthy enough. I throw one counter and then throw the Power-Up Punch, but it actually would have been technically safer to just straight counter the whole way down, since they definitely weren't going to... I wasn't going to be able to reach like 3 of those to take all the shields. Managed to take that game. Just, it hurt to let ShadowZard go, but sometimes you got to have faith in your backline, right? And I knew ShadowZard had no play against the other 2 Pokemon. So, I get a Skuntank, which is not a Registeel, which is unfortunate, because I definitely need those, because, you know, they have a lot of trading utility, and they're really fantastic. I go up to 2,900, and yeah, that's the end of that set. So yeah, that's the update on my team. If you are seeing a lot of Charmers in the back, or if you're at a range where you see a lot of double Charm teams, I would definitely suggest sticking with my original of running Electrode in the back. If you're at the point where you see a lot of Lickitung safe swaps, then yeah, Scrafty might work for you. Could also totally run this with ShadowZard, Electrode, and Scrafty. That would also make perfect sense. But yeah, Shadow Charizard. Highly recommend it. It's very strong in the lead, wins lead, or can force switch advantage against a lot of Pokemon. And yeah, Wing Attack also gives it a lot of farm down potential, so even if you lose lead, you can sometimes farm down the counter swaps and be able to unload that energy. Energy on Shadow Charizard is incredibly valuable, and managing that energy is really the key to using it really, really well. But yeah, those are my teams. Sorry I made you wait so many days to get a Love Cup video out. I will get another one out this weekend. Yeah, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to do the things you know you're supposed to do at the ends of videos. You know you're supposed to do them, and it helps me out a lot. Do the things. I'll see you guys on the next one.